How's it going guys, Kris here with another episode of Battlefield 5 Weapon Versus, and today we'll be honing in on two medic class submachine guns, seeing how they compare statistically, and deciding which will probably be the better gun for you. On the left side, we've got the NAMBU Type 2A, an experimental Japanese SMG that came along in Chapter 5 War in the Pacific, and on the right side, the good old Suomi KP-31. A base game weapon from Finland, often deemed to be one of the most successful submachine guns of World War II. So as you've probably already gathered, both of these guns are well known to being two of the deadliest rapid firing bullet hoses in Battlefield 5. Both fitting into aggressive playstyles really nicely, and designed to pretty much delete anyone unfortunate enough to be close by at the time. Unlucky for them. The SMGs share very similar properties, and cater to the same sort of offensive styles, both excelling within shorter ranges, but becoming a lot harder and less reliable to use against players further away, as neither of the weapons particularly have good accuracy stats, due to the fact that they're spewing all of their shots out all over the place at such a quick rate. But although these SMGs offer similar sorts of benefits and are cursed with some of the same problems, they're still quite different regarding the stats, both having different damage graphs, recoil patterns, and overall ease of use. So despite sharing characteristics, they're going to be better and worse than each other in certain situations, and one just might seem to suit your style of play a little bit better, once you know how they function and how to play to their individual strengths. So to kick this comparison off, we're going to go over the thing that the Type 2A and Suomi both do really bloody well: take down other players, with deadliness easily being their strongest factor. Although they're both very dangerous and kill at some of the quickest speeds in the game within shorter sightlines, there's still quite a few differences in overall power output. The NAMBU Type 2A's got a slightly weaker bullet, having a maximum damage of just 20 up to 10 meters, which will slow it down over distance, reaching its minimum damage of 10 at 100 meters. The Suomi on the other hand packs a bit more punch over all ranges, dishing out a maximum of 25 damage up to 10 meters, which slopes down over distance, reaching its minimum damage of 12 at 100 meters, so a little bit more than the NAMBU. This is going to directly affect the number of shots needed to kill, as it pretty much means that the Suomi can take people down in one less shot over all ranges, with it taking 4 to 9 bullets, instead of 4 to 5, like the Type 2A, giving the Suomi's bullets a bit more bite, and usually meaning that you'll need to land less of them to secure the kill. Because a headshot essentially doubles the damage with SMGs, landing one with the Type 2A will still only put the gun on the same level as the Suomi regarding shots to kill, lowering it down by 1 bullet. So as far as damage goes, the Suomi is definitely going to be superior whenever you can get those shots to connect with your target. But of course, bullet damage definitely isn't everything when it comes to overall power, because I think it's time to address the elephant in the room and throw those fire rates into the mix. The Suomi KP-31 shoots its bullets out at some very impressive rates, shooting at speeds of 770 RPM or 981 RPM with the lightbolt specialization. This makes it a devastating force to be reckoned with and arguably one of the deadliest guns in the game. But since the NAMBU Type 2A came along, it's got a bit more competition, with the NAMBU shooting at even quicker rates, with a base fire rate of 1028 RPM, which is already faster than the Suomi with its lightbolt spec, though the Type 2A's also got access to the lightbolt spec too, ramping its fire rate up to a ridiculous speed of 1200 RPM. The NAMBU's faster fire rate helps to compensate for its weaker bullet damage, giving it virtually the same sort of kill times within shorter sightlines, where both guns are designed to be most effective. Though despite being able to take players down with one less bullet, the Suomi actually has slightly slower kill times beyond close range, unless you've equipped its lightbolt. If both guns have the lightbolt equipped however, this will put them on a very similar level again regarding time to kill. So ultimately, it all comes down to you choosing to increase the fire rate or not, to determine whether one gun would be deadlier than the other. It might sound obvious, but when you take bullet damage into consideration, the NAMBU's extra speed helps to make up for the Suomi's extra power, making them both different statistically, but very similar in terms of general lethality. Moving over to the accuracy section next, I can safely say that neither of the guns are particularly going to be very precise or easy to use in fully automatic fire. Not just because they fire really fast, but because their recoil patterns are generally pretty wild. As far as stability goes, the Type 2A is actually going to seem a bit more manageable, having a lower vertical kick reading of 0.63. In comparison to other SMGs, this isn't exactly anything great, but it's still a lower value than the Suomi, which has a vertical kick reading of 0.84, one of the highest in the class. So the gun might seem to drift upwards a bit more than the NAMBU as a result when you open fire, often making the NAMBU a little bit more controllable when firing in longer bursts. With that said, with it having a faster fire rate, the recoil is going to stack up a bit quicker, so it's still not exactly going to be a very stable weapon overall, despite having that lower value. Both weapons have access to recoil buffers, lowering vertical kick down to give them more control, though the NAMBU will still always have the lower value, regardless of whether it's got its recoil buffer applied or not, as the Suomis can only be dropped down to 0.67, which is still higher than the NAMBU's base figure. Things start to get a bit more interesting when we take a look at horizontal recoil values, as the Suomi's got a slightly higher rightwards kick of 0.575 as opposed to the NAMBU's 0.42, but the NAMBU's got a much higher leftwards kick of 0.72 as opposed to the Suomi's figure of 0.275, which is quite a big difference. This means that both guns are going to kick around in drastically different ways, with the Suomi's line of fire drifting more so to the right, but the NAMBU's going a bit more to the left instead. Neither recoil patterns can be considered to be good, but the NAMBU generally has the higher values, especially with that really heavy leftwards figure, and coupled with the fact that it also fires faster too, makes it a less accurate weapon as a whole. It might seem more stable, having a lower vertical figure, but it'll often jump around a bit more from side to side, lowering precision and making it less reliable for taking on enemies beyond closer ranges due to more bullets straying off target. The Suomi also has a slightly higher muzzle velocity too, potentially making it a tiny bit easier to use over range with its bullets travelling at a faster rate. It's only a tiny difference, but it is still a difference at the end of the day. And although neither weapons are suited for taking on players far away, the Suomi at least might be able to land more of its shots a bit more accurately, with the NAMBU being a bit more of a spray and pray weapon beyond CQC. Now we can establish that both the Type 2A and the Suomi are going to pepper your enemies in a shower of lead, and they're both fully capable of putting people down very quickly. But considering they're going to be at their deadliest within shorter ranges, at distances where you're going to be most vulnerable, just how reliable are these weapons at keeping you alive when shit hits the fan? The Type 2A's naturally got the longer magazine, and when you're using a fast firing gun in CQC, size really does matter. It's got an ammo capacity of 31 rounds, as opposed to the Suomi's less impressive 20 round capacity, which isn't really going to keep you going for very long. So from this, you might presume that the NAMBU is going to be the more dependable option without taking specializations into account. Well, not exactly, at least not all the time anyway, because although it might seem to have the more obvious ammo advantage, you've got to take into account that those bullets are weaker than the Suomi's, and it'll often take more of them to drop your opponents in gunfights. Not to mention the fact that the Type 2A also has those quicker fire rates, so you're going to be expending more shots a lot quicker at a less manageable pace, often wasting more bullets in the process because of the gun's erratic recoil pattern as you spray your targets and hope for the best. The Suomi's 20 round mag size might sound a bit rubbish in comparison, but with it being able to kill in less bullets, hit enemies a bit more precisely, and seems slightly easier to control the rate in which you fire shots out, these factors all combine to put the guns on a more similar playing field, despite the NAMBU having more shots. But of course, both of these weapons do have access to extended magazines, giving them very similar ammo counts, with the Suomi holding 50 rounds and the NAMBU having just one more at 51. So when you put the guns side by side with extended mags, the Suomi is going to have the distinct reliability advantage. With that said, it's definitely not perfect, having the longer reload times. So although you'll probably be running out of ammo more frequently with the Type 2A, you'll be able to get back into the action a bit quicker when you do, whereas the Suomi is going to leave you high and dry for a bit longer, making you a bit more vulnerable in between gunfights. So which gun should you choose? Both are capable of shredding enemies up in a matter of milliseconds if they're close by, and both are designed to be used by aggressive players who like to play the objective and rush enemy positions with offensive tactics. The NAMBU Type 2A and Suomi KP-31 have very similar weapons on the face of it, regarding their overall role in the game and within the medic class. Yet they still offer slight benefits in their own ways, sometimes making one feel a little bit more effective or dependable in a certain situation. It's safe to say that the Type 2A is the ultimate spray and pray weapon, being more of a bullet hose that specialises in spamming shots out quicker to make up for its lower damage output. The fact that more bullets are being spewed out in a shorter space of time means that if you miss a few shots, it's not going to be quite as problematic, because there's plenty more to follow. And with the NAMBU having a slightly bigger magazine at standard, this can help to make up for the fact that you'll need to land more bullets to take your opponents down. The Type 2A does suffer from generally having the worst accuracy stats of the two guns, despite being a bit more stable, as its erratic horizontal recoil is going to force a lot of your shots to stray off target, and combined with having a lower damage, often taking an extra shot to kill, these factors can make it even less effective against enemies wandering around beyond those closer ranges, as although it'll be able to drop people at lightning fast speeds in CQC, sometimes seeming like the deadlier option to use here due to the sheer volume of bullets that you'll be able to discharge, the NAMBU's low precision stats will often put you at a big disadvantage, meaning you'll have to try and get as close as you can to your target before opening fire, if you want to use the gun to its maximum effect. It's probably slightly better designed for close quarter combat as a result, having the faster reload speeds to make it a bit more reliable in awkward situations up on the front line, and all of these factors combined can potentially make it the ultimate close range gun. The Suomi on the other hand might shoot a tad slower, but its higher bullet damage is more than enough to make up for this, still giving it some very similar kill times to the NAMBU. Though because its fire is a bit less spammable, missed shots are likely to be a bit more problematic as a result. Thankfully for the Suomi, it's got lower horizontal recoil, so it's usually going to feel a bit more precise, and although it might kick upwards slightly more, at least shots are less likely to whiz off target, with that upwards recoil being easy to counter by tap and burst firing. Unfortunately for the Suomi, its reloads aren't quite the best, especially when compared to the Type 2A, so you'll probably need to be a bit more aware of your ammo count, which is actually lower than the NAMBU if neither of the guns use extended mags, potentially making the weapon less reliable and making you more vulnerable within CQC, where the gun is designed to perform at its best. But the Suomi stats can generally benefit players over further distances slightly more, killing in less shots and having the higher accuracy. So although it might leave you in the odd sticky situation because of those reloads, it might seem like the better well-rounded weapon, if you want something that fires fast, yet still feel a bit more usable against players beyond point-blank range. So that's it for this one guys, hope you enjoyed the video and learned a few things along the way. Give me a like if you did, and subscribe for more videos coming up soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll be seeing you in that next episode.